Imagine a light, electric cruiser that goes like a bat out of hell, but still manages the corners, gets updates over the air, and comes with all the tech. This week on EV Rider, we're putting the S2 Mulholland from Harley-Davidson's LiveWire brand to the test. So let's get the big stats out of the way first. The Mulholland will rip from 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, thanks to its 194 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 432 pounds and has a seat height of 30.2 inches, which isn't as tall as LiveWire's S2 Del Mar or adventure bikes like Harley's Pan America. The Mulholland also uses sustainable materials wherever possible. So one example is they actually used recycled ocean plastic for some of the bike. The Mulholland has 5 different ride modes: Sport, Road, Rain, Eco, and Custom. So riders will be able to perfectly dial in their LiveWire. So I'm here with John Vogel with Adam at Harley-Davidson, and he is one of the very first people in Northeast Florida to ride the S2 Mulholland. Good morning, John.
How are you doing today?
Good. Tell me about that experience.
One of my favorite things about that one, especially for a bigger guy like myself, is the risers. The big difference between that one and the Del Mar are going to be that 6-inch risers, more of an upright riding experience, which provides a lot more comfort.
For guys that are, dyed-in-the-wool Harley fans, compare this, for example, to both the last generation and current generation Sportster.
The Mulholland, compared to the previous Sportster and the most modern Nightster, is going to be the weight class, is the closest comparison, kind of a sport cruiser style. It's actually lighter weight than the Sportsters and definitely way more power and torque. I'm kind of into the power cruiser myself, that's kind of style and feel and comfort. So I feel like it's something that you could ride and enjoy for a really long ride and still have all the punch and power of an EV, but with the rideability and comfort of a power cruiser.
What would you say to a Harley owner that's skeptical about EVs?
The main thing I would tell them is don't knock it until you try it. Get on one, and we do test rides every day. We actually have some promotions to just encourage test rides on these things, because I think that's going to be the big factor. As you can say what you want on looks or you don't trust electric, but until you get on one and ride one and experience the power of 194 foot-pounds of torque in an instant, there's really nothing on fossil fuel you can compare it to.
John's comment about trying one, I think, goes to the heart of the LiveWire brand. I know there's a lot of die-hard motorcyclists out there that would say, I'm never going to consider an electric bike. I'd miss the sound of the engine, the exhaust, the fuel shifting. I'm here to tell you, don't write them off. They are more fun in many ways than gasoline bikes, because they allow you to really concentrate on riding. You don't have the distractions that you have with a gasoline bike. You don't have to worry about hitting the rev range right when you go into a corner. In fact, you've still got the feel of that thanks to regen, though, on this bike. And coming out of the corners, you don't have to worry about the shift points either. You're going to always have the perfect amount of torque. I've already hit a couple bumps. It's soaking them up very nicely. One thing I'll say, initial impressions, this bike feels quality built. In stop and go traffic like this, I'll take an EV all day long over a gasoline manual transmission bike. The heat that would traditionally come from an engine, from the exhaust, I don't have any of that. I don't need to worry about my clutch hand getting tired. It's all good. Now this bike is on a totally different platform than the original LiveWire 1. Another functional difference that I'm still getting used to are the mirrors. The mirrors are down low as opposed to above the handlebars. I haven't decided how I feel about that quite yet. I haven't been on the bike long enough to have an opinion. So there are quite a few differences between it and the LiveWire 1. The biggest difference from a practical standpoint is this battery is significantly smaller. The other really big difference is it's significantly lighter than the LiveWire 1. I'll go ahead and throw the LiveWire 1's weight on the screen for you. The LiveWire's battery can store 10.5 kilowatt hours of usable energy, with the rest going to the battery's buffer. LiveWire guarantees the battery's performance for 5 years with unlimited mileage. The LiveWire's guessometer, which of course all cars and motorcycles that are EVs try to give you an estimated range, I would hazard to say that this bike's estimated range is pretty optimistic based on how fast I'm seeing the battery drop. I left the house with 99% and I've only gone maybe 10 miles and I'm already down to 84% of range. Although it's interstate riding, so I would expect the range to drop pretty quickly on the interstate. If you're riding the LiveWire beyond its range, you can recharge at any Level 2 station here in the US, including Tesla destination chargers, as long as you have an adapter. LiveWire doesn't list a peak charging speed on its website, but I can tell you the fastest peak I saw during my time charging the Mulholland was 5 kilowatts. LiveWire says the Mulholland will go from 20 to 80% of charge in 1 hour, 18 minutes. The Mulholland isn't available with DC fast charging. LiveWire says the Mulholland has a combined city highway range of 91 miles or a sustained range of 73 miles at 55 miles per hour. In stop-and-go city riding, it's rated at 121 miles per charge. Now, one of the things I really like about the Mulholland is it's got a full multimedia system. So right now you can probably hear a little music in the background. By the way, I'm going to turn that volume down just so I don't get dinged for copyright violation. Now, as you can see, right now I've got the infotainment there, but if I go over here, I can go to all kinds of different things. So, for example, if I wanted to go to navigation, there you can see navigation, and then you've got a home button that sends you back to exactly what you really want, which is your speed and vital stats. This is a very quiet electric motorcycle. Very, very smooth, which I personally like. One thing I'm not a big fan of with the Energica electric motorcycles is the whine that they make, which is in part due to the fact that they're chain drive, whereas the LiveWire is belt drive. This thing's suspension really does a nice job soaking up the bumps. So far today, I've done more than 60 miles on the LiveWire, so I can definitely start forming some real-world opinions about it. Well, the very first thing is, I'll say it passes the butt test. And what I mean by that, every bike feels wonderful for the first 25 miles, but once you break 50, at least for me, you start noticing whether a bike is comfortable or not, especially when it comes to the seat. This seat so far has been just fine. I don't know if it's a great all-day seat in terms of, really racking up the miles, but then again, given that this bike's mission is basically 50, 60 mile bursts and then a break, seat definitely is going to meet that criteria, no problem. The Mulholland is built at Harley-Davidson's York, Pennsylvania plant. Although LiveWire is now considered a standalone brand, it's also still a Harley-Davidson, as you can see. Having a motorcycle that's light on its feet in an old city like this with skinny roads and even old cobblestone streets is really the way to do it. I'll tell you, if I had a big old heavy cruiser or a tall adventure bike on streets like this, yeah, I'd make it work, but this is a lot easier. I'm on my way back to Adam at Harley-Davidson. I've only got 2 miles left on the interstate to get there. So far, I've done a little over 100 miles today, and I'm at 6% of charge with 1 charging stop. And as you can see, I'm hitting Jacksonville's rush hour, so I shouldn't have any trouble with the range getting there, given the speed I'm going. In summary, it's been a great day with the LiveWire S2 Mulholland. I've been very pleased with the bike.
You know, where I really just feel they knocked it out of the park is the ride quality and the build quality. This just feels like a premium motorcycle all day long.
Hey, and I want to give a big shout out to Adam at Harley-Davidson here in Jacksonville for loaning out the S2 Mulholland. It's been an absolute blast to ride. So I can't thank these guys enough. If you've enjoyed this episode of EV Rider, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so I can continue to bring you more adventures in EV motorcycling. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.